So I want to get a macro just showing some of the details and perhaps also some flaws. What's really nice you can see here is that bevel and how it sort of transitions. It's pretty nice actually, and you can see all the details are done really well. It's got kind of a nice sort of like stained clip rather than a painted one. You can even see the clip has a polishing this direction. And one flaw first is that you can see that gap in between the liner and the G10. And I really think that is, like I said, unfortunately, if they're going to discontinue this, we're not going to see an improvement in that. It's just that, you have this area has a stop pin and the pivot, but it's also narrow, so it's easy to keep it all nice and kind of pressed together. So there's no gap on this side. When you get towards this point, yeah, that has to be there because that kind of keeps the middle section from bowing in or having any weird issues. When you get towards here, though, you have this one, and it's responsible for holding both sides down. And really what you probably could do is you could go in there and just slightly flex that steel liner up a little bit that way so that it kind of presses, because the G10 is flat. I'm certain the G10 has no warping. It is just nice and straight across. But you can see then there is that gap on that side. Something just part of it. I mean, realistically, I think the best way if they could have fixed that is to put another pin here or spacer. And that you see that a lot of folders have 3 screws back here, so that sort of minimalism here kind of hurts it. They could have done something. Maybe what would have been an interesting thought is they put the pot clip on this side, and then they would have held those two pieces together. There's a trade-off because that wouldn't happen on a Sebenza, but a Sebenza is just 2 pieces titanium, so there is no division of one side. So structurally, you don't even have to worry about that issue. So a Sebenza could pull off this 3-screw thing, but you get traction with this. Traction has always been a thing on the Sebenza, so with this now you have some grip. Now the other thing then, of course, like the Sebenza, is the lock bar. It's sticking out. The Sebenza has a cutout. This one has a little bit less, but you still engage the lock bar, and because of that, just like the Sebenza, when you grip hard, you can move that lock bar. So far, this lock up is sitting at 50%. Even if I try to push, it's still right around there. I think, given time, breaking it isn't such a big concern because, like I said, they did polish it. I do think it'd be nice to go in there and carbonize the lock bar, but you can see the general thickness of the lock bar. There's a lot of titanium there that this S30V has to wear into, and then even then, once it's worn in, the blade stock is still thicker than the lock bar. So you got a lot of time, I think, for that lockup. And you can see it's even nice, the water jet. They've gone in there and cleaned the in between the lock bar and the you see the frame, that cut right there. It's actually planed. It's pretty nice. I mean, that is not necessary, but definitely a nice feature. You can still see some graininess. They didn't go and they didn't go in there and make it perfect, but you can definitely see they cleaned it up, and that's why there's more of a big space. And you can even see here, right there on this side, there's a bevel right here going down, so that's comfortable even too. I mean, they've beveled everything. You can see that little miniature bevel rounded that part, so it's comfortable right there when the lockup engages. It doesn't hurt your finger. Actually, it's really a comfortable knife. The hand doesn't even go near there, and it actually has good reach, and the lockup is strong. There's like pretty much you have the pivot tightened all the way down. What's giving it some ability to have, I would say, movement is the fact that the washers are kind of small, and that there's this spacer. Well, the stop pin is serving as a spacer. So deployment is slick. I mean, it is smooth, nice, easy to deploy. There's no stiffness at all. The motion, the deployment is very, very smooth. You can see they've gotten all the steel to 90, and they've really cleaned it up a lot. And then you can see here when it's all put together what I was talking about, that steel liner, you see that reflection because they've gone and polished it. You can see, I mean, they didn't do, you know, to the maximum, but you can still see some roughness from the wire jet there on the corner that's sanded, which is sanded. That's kind of why maybe you notice the glare more. But what it is, you can see from the inside, for example, you can see how that liner has been polished. See, there's even a reflection. So it's really been taken, I would say, more than 400 grit. It's been taken to a nice fine polish and then stonewashed, which is going to really help prevent any rust from forming on it. And I think that also attributes to why it's so slick. And on both sides where they have the phosphor bronze washer, it's contacting a nice smooth surface, both on the liner and then on the titanium side, where if you saw when I had this assembled, there was no bead blast right where the washer was touching.